Welcome to Psychic Evolution with evidential psychic medium Jamie Clark and spiritual coach and healer Maggie Clark.
And welcome back to another episode of Psychic Evolution. I'm Jamie Clark.
And I'm Maggie Clark, and this is a podcast where you discover the psychic potential within to empower yourself and manifest your psychic and mediumship gifts.
And these abilities are so natural, they're supernatural.
And today we are having an episode on the doorway to mediumship. So this is going to be a fun episode. We're going to focus on mediumship, but again, we just want to keep you reminded that psychic and mediumship is the same thing. We use our gifts the same way, whether we're connecting to the other side, whether we're getting psychic intuitive impressions. So we will interchange some of our psychic skills with this episode as well. But mostly we're going to be focusing on mediumship. But realize whatever you hear today in this podcast, you can also apply in your psychic evolution.
And if we can share as many tools and techniques to help you to help yourself, this is going to be a better place, one person at a time. And on the other episode that we recently did, we were talking about meditation. The ability of the meditation is to start learning your own thought process. When you think your own thoughts, your own vibes, and then you have an idea of who in your thought process. So if you're picking someone else's up, oh, that's not mine, that's someone else's. That's something else. Oh, perfect. And just like Mag was saying, the psychic and the mediumship are the same thing. I share the fact that for most of my life, I always used to think that not every psychic is a medium, but every medium is definitely psychic. And after a while, I said, gee, so what's up with that? And he said, well, Jamie, what do you do when you read for somebody psychically? My response is, I read their thoughts, their attention to those thoughts, which creates vibrations of information, and I read it. He's like, okay, what do you do with mediumship? Connect to their thoughts, their attention to those thoughts creates vibrations of information, and I read it. To me, as I always say, the only difference between a psychic read and a mediumship read, psychic read is in the physical body, mediumship read is out of the physical body. Both are soul prints of consciousness. And that's why I just wanted to share, and as we move along, that the psychic and mediumship, the more that you work with your psychic abilities, the more you're developing your mediumship, and vice versa. It's all one. And if you can give yourself some versatility to know when you want to tune in psychically and when it's mediumship, because again, our loved ones are very hungry in a great way to make the connections, but they're not going to try to make us. They'll allow it. And our ability to work with our psychic senses, the ability to learn the different clairs, and we'll go over those again. Plus, we want to give you some tools and techniques that if maybe you're not seeing things or you're not hearing things clairaudiently or clairvoyantly and seeing them, we want to give you other tools and techniques in order for your day-to-day living that you can train and work on your abilities effectively, efficiently, and effortlessly.
And of course, the first thing always is practice, practice, practice. So this is like absolutely essential for developing mediumship, in my opinion, because I'm not a professional medium, but I've been working with my mediumship gifts. And I've actually been actively practicing more in our training sessions, and it's really fun. And I've been actually exploring more of that mediumship aspect. I've always focused on the psychic, on the tarot, astrology, the things that had made sense to me and had some kind of structure. And that was a great place for me to develop my intuition, to trust, and to develop connections with my higher self and my spirit team. And once I got really, really good at that, now I'm exploring more mediumship. When it first opened up for me, it happened very organically. Someone from the other side basically stepped forward, presented themselves. I knew their soul print, their energy signature. I knew it was them. I had no doubts, and it was so effortless. It was absolutely beautiful. And so from that experience and many other experiences since, I have received more trust and developed more integration of the mediumship channel.
And just like Mag is saying, the more you do it, the better you get. Learning those different channels and what we're tuning into. Because I always share the fact that we're like the tuner, the radio tuner. All of these channels are on and playing. Just because you're not tuning into them doesn't mean they're not playing. It's always on. And what channel do you want to tune into? Classic, jazz, rock and roll, any of those. Because if you're tuning into that channel's going to play. Meaning if you tune into the rock and roll channel, rock and roll won't be classic, it'll be rock and roll. It's a vibrational match. And learning to open the doorways of consciousness for ourselves, because it's not easy to be comfortable and have fun when you're not quite sure about all the ins and outs of what's happening. But that's why Mag and I always share the fact that first and foremost, safety, the ability to relax into this experience and know that you are safe. Not hope and believe, know. Because I found for myself, if I didn't know that I was safe in the beginning and the back of your mind, you're like, I hope I'm safe. And then you have such a fear of not wanting to be tagged or whatever the circumstances that you'll shut it down. And the other side's like, hello, McFly. Hey, and they can only reach out to us, but it's our choice if we want to listen in any of the ways, using any of the clairs that we all have.
So if you need to listen to that episode on psychic safety, there's a recent one in season 5, episode 21. There's also an episode in season 1 on safety rules and regs. And so really familiarize yourself if you're just getting going. Now we are calling this episode Doorway to Mediumship because when we experience mediumship, oftentimes we see a door opening. And it's a doorway to the other side. Now, we see this in our mind sight, not necessarily always on the physical level. We see it in our mind sight that a door is opening and we get to now have an interchange through this doorway of connection. And it's almost like opening up a window and getting a breath of fresh air. But literally, it's a doorway that opens up so that we can connect to our loved ones.
And the more comfortable we are with opening our doorway of consciousness, the more effective and receptive we become to the information that's playing. And for myself, I wanted to be able to use my clairs as much as possible in all of the clairs that I can, because I always say that no one's the same physically. They're not going to be the same metaphysically. Some can show me pictures, others can talk with me, others will make me feel the information, many different ways of communication. So for myself, I need to have as much versatility and receptiveness through my own tools and techniques that, 1, I know when I'm thinking my thoughts. 2, when I'm picking up someone else's energy. 3, more specifically with personalities, characteristics, and aspects of information that will, in mediumship, move beyond, hey, that's really good guesswork, to, there's no way you could know that. Maybe there's something to this spiritual stuff. Is that what it is? Yeah. Again, everything's spiritual. And when we can get more comfortable to make our own connections with ourselves first, finding ourselves within life and that life within us, and then bring it to the surface of consciousness, I'm no longer fearful of losing myself to the process. I have now connected with myself enough that I find myself within the process. That way it's a unified connection and it's teamwork. As much as I'm open and receptive, not only can I receive the information, but I've learned to train myself to send and share the information as well in a conversational aspect.
And it's such a great point because in that conversation, we're learning new language. The other side is learning how we can receive information through our senses, through our clairs. And we're also learning how to receive from them, how to open and really understand what it is that they are communicating to us. And just like Jamie said, they can use every single clair sense that we have. And these are our metaphysical senses. We did an episode in season 1 around them. We've done several episodes since developing certain clairs, including clairtangency this season. And we will do more episodes on each of the clairs so that you can actually familiarize yourself even more, fine-tuning your relationship to your clairs. But this is how we metaphysically perceive information that's not in the physical realm. It's through intuition, impressions, mindsight, communication, understanding. But remember, we are forming new ways of communicating. When someone goes to the other side, we have to now bridge that relationship because they're not in the physical talking from their mouth. They are in the metaphysical, speaking through their mind sight.
Let's get used to those tactile senses. Like we have the clairs, we have the physical senses. And for myself, if I was not quite clearly hearing clairaudiently people, experiences, communications, then I would start to train myself in my off time, meaning I'll work on all of my abilities, but if I'm in a session, I use my strongest abilities so that I can be as effective as possible. And so if it was the clairaudient where I wasn't hearing things, I would go sit outside and I would listen to the birds sing. I could hear cars going by, the honk of the horn. And when those things would happen, I would register that in my Solodex of information to go, I know how a doorbell sounds. I know how knocking sounds. There's many different vibrational patterns on the ear nubs that most of us will get distracted at trying to listen to everything rather than feel everything. And I found that when I could just at least quiet my mind and using my physical senses, like my metaphysical senses, it was more relaxing because there wasn't a difference. I began to see, oh, wait a minute, that also kind of ties into the psychic and the mediumship, right? I'm the same person, but I'm tapping in psychically and mediumship-wise onto multiple channels at once. If you're okay, let's take him through the clairs and then see what they might have and give him some tools and techniques in order to use it in their day-to-day living while they're practicing.
So when we open up this doorway to mediumship, we're opening up a doorway of communication. And in that communication, we're going to settle into our clairs. And so let's just kind of settle in. And first and foremost, we're going to take a nice little walk and stroll through your garden of consciousness. This garden looks however you want it to look. It's a beautiful, relaxing garden on a perfect summer day with a nice breeze. You can be in the sun, you can be in the shade, whatever your comfort level is. We use this garden as a garden of connection where we are opening up a doorway for mediumship. In this garden, there will be 2 chairs, and one you will sit in, and the one before you, you will have a loved one sit in front of you, someone that you wish to connect with from the other side. As soon as you ask them to come sit in that chair in front of you, you have opened up the doorway to mediumship. So now you just need to think about how you can relax and settle into this space and receive information in new ways through your mind-sight connection. The first clair that we're going to work with is clairvoyance. Can you see your loved one sitting in front of you in this beautiful chair? If you can see that, you're using a technique that strengthens your clairvoyant to be able to see things in your mind sight. And just be open. See how your loved one presents themselves. See what they're wearing. See what you can see in your mind sight. Any impressions that you feel that they are delivering messages to you through anything that you can see in your mind sight, and just be open to what that might be. Next, we open up our clairaudience. Do you hear them saying any words? And they might be writing this on a blackboard for you that you can visually see. They might work with some of your senses, your clairs, in tandem together. They might be speaking out a word and also spelling it out for you on a visual blackboard for you to witness, for you to look at. Now, don't worry if you can't see anything and you can't hear anything. These abilities take lots of practice, and the more you work with them, the more clear they become in your mind sight. Now, if you can hear anything, that's great. If you can't hear what they're saying, imagine hearing a bird chirping on a tree right next to you. Now, if you can imagine that, you're already using your clairaudient senses. You're already strengthening them through the imagination of knowing that bird sound and what it sounds like. So you can imagine your loved one's voice. Imagine if they were to say something, and then just open and see what that sounds like.
And again, let your imagination ride. Let it be. Don't limit it. Don't try to analyze it. Just go with it. That free-flowing, open receptivity of communication is huge because they will connect the way that they can. But giving ourselves, just like Mag is sharing, let's get those connections. You know, more than likely, the loved one you're wanting to talk with. Not only that, to be able to saunter through those neural soulways with our loved ones, and that you do know how their soul print feels, that whether it's mom, dad, a friend, a love, whoever it is, learning to know their energy and yours. And just like in the physical, we begin to find ourselves within life, and that life within us, and then we're able to communicate and bring life to our experiences.
And now I want you to breathe in deep through your nose in a metaphysical sense. You're using your clairalience, the ability to smell. And maybe your loved one had a favorite perfume. Maybe your loved one was a smoker or smoked a pipe and you smell tobacco. But breathe in metaphysically and see if they come and impart any type of smell. It could be their favorite flower, their favorite food. They can impart information through this ability to smell with your clairalience. And now I want you to taste, metaphysically taste in your mouth. See if you can taste anything. Maybe they had like something they ate for breakfast every morning that you could taste, that you maybe ate with them, or their favorite birthday cake, or a favorite food, something that they would always, maybe they had a garden and you can taste a fresh cucumber or a green bean off the vine. So get creative and just see if you can taste anything. And this is all through your metaphysical senses. You've now opened up the doorway. Your loved one is sitting in front of you, and now you're forming a bridge of communication. Let's see how they can communicate with you. And the next is clairtangency. And we did a full episode on this season. Episode 1 is clairtangency, so you can listen if you want a little bit more information on this, but this is your ability to feel things that aren't there on your skin vision. And just see if maybe they pat an arm, maybe they hold your hand the same way they held your hand when they were here. Maybe they patted you on the shoulder. Maybe they patted you on the leg. Maybe they gave great big bear hugs. But see if you can feel anything in your metaphysical skin. Just open up and receive and see what you feel here.
And in addition, if you're not feeling things with your clairtangency or the skin vision, then while you're at home, maybe grab a glass. Hold it in your hands, feel how it feels, set it down, and practice how it felt that you just had it. Or if it's water, run your hand physically through the water so that you can feel the wetness of that water in this case. Or the wind that goes by. Any of these regular senses that we use physically are in our day-to-day living that you can fit in comfortably. You don't have to go meditate for 80 hours a day. It's work on these clair senses so that little by little you learn to work with them, you learn to trust them, and receive information through them.
And then, of course, there is this beautiful clairsentience. This is the seat of the soul where you have an inner knowing of what's being communicated by your loved one sitting in front of you. And when you feel this, it just is like, I know that they are telling me something, or I know that this is them because I feel their energy. And this is something that we practice, just feeling into their soul print energy, feeling into who they are, and really getting a knowing deep within that this is exactly the person that you wanted to connect with. The more you practice this in your garden of meditation, opening up this doorway of mediumship and asking your loved one to come sit with you in this garden, the more you practice with these clairs, the more you recognize how beautiful they can be, how interactive they can become, and then just be open. Like Jamie said, use your imagination. Trust. You might keep a journal just to write things down. I love when I'm practicing mediumship, I love having a pen in my hand and a piece of paper. It helps me write things down without overthinking them in my analytical mind. So I can just feel them. I can write them down. I can look at them later. And it's a great way to just really connect openly. And that also forms this nice little automatic writing type of bridge of connection to the loved ones you wish to connect with.
And as I always talk about, safety is a big thing. Now, I also talk about a scientist named Dr. Masaru Emoto, who did hidden messages in water. And he was a scientist that wanted to see if the molecular structure of water holds thought patterns thought within it and what it did. So he did these scientific studies, and again and again and again, and every time he did it, he got the same results. And what he did was take two separate containers of water. And in one container, he had people send it consciously positive, loving, happy thoughts and froze it. The other container, he had people send it negative, challenging, bad thoughts and froze it. Each and every time he took those ice crystals out, sliced them up and put them under an electron microscope, he saw that the molecular structure of the water that was sent negative and challenging energy was gross and murky, and they have pictures of it. And then the ones that were sent love and light were like snowflakes and prisms. I always say the fact that there's a couple of things that are almost 70% water on this planet. That'd be the oceans and the human body, and the brain is almost 80%. So for myself, whether you're doing psychic or mediumship or connected with anybody, you are picking up their thought form patterns that will work on your molecular structure, your body. For myself, I have a filtration system. And what I mean by that is the neural soulway or the mediumship channel I'm open to because I can tune in. However, I also have what they call the primordial flame. It's a purplish blue flame that is within and all around me that transmutes the energy but does not burn. And in doing that, I'm able to receive information in any way, psychically, mediumship, or other ways, that I can pick up the information but not wear that energy so that it affects me and my physical body, that cellular structure. Because there are some people who will tap in and they start picking up other energies and it starts to take them down a physical avenue. Go, I don't feel so good, or whatever the case is. And for myself, I'm lazy, so I'm always going to be proactive so I don't have to worry in the back of my soul to go, I hope it. Nope. I've got my own way that I know. I put it to the test for me, and I know it works. And if we can give you some of the tools and techniques that we use that work for us, if you want to, put them to the test. See if you'd like to work in this capacity. But again, giving yourself the comfort and safety that I can pick up all of these thought patterns, but I don't wear it. I get the connection, and it's transmuted. Oh, yeah, it's transmuted before it even gets to me. So it's that kind of practicality of spirituality that we want to give you the practical tools and techniques to make it more comfortable to fit in your day-to-day living.
And it's really, really cool because a lot of times the mediumship validations that we receive are about how people passed, because that can be validated and they can, make you feel how their passing was as a validation if you were to offer it to someone else, or if you knew the person that you want to connect with, they offer that and sometimes allow you to feel what they felt prior to passing. And that's where it's so important to have that filtration system that Jamie's talking about in place so that you're not carrying that energy with you, because we can experience things in our metaphysical senses without allowing it to affect our physical life and go forward with it. And so having a very clean and pure energy state through this flame, this primordial flame of purification and transmutation allows you to maybe experience how a passing went as a validation that it's really the loved one that you want to connect with. Now, and you don't have to experience that. If you do not want to experience the way someone passed as a validation, make that part of your rules and regulations and put it on your billboard so that the loved ones coming through don't have you experience those things, because that can be a little bit intimidating and scary when you're practicing mediumship. It's like, I don't want to feel how they died. Like, no way. Some mediums are really comfortable receiving any types of information, and some are not. So you get to choose the type of medium that you want to be and make sure that you put that in your rules and regulations. Water, like Jamie was talking about, is consciousness. Conscious thoughts, conscious energy permeates cellular structures. So we do want to keep ourselves very clean and pure energy state as we go forward. Most of our loved ones that we want to connect with individually, when we're not doing this professionally, but we just want to connect with maybe a grandpa that passed, or a grandmother that passed, or a dog that passed, we can literally just ask them to be with us. The other morning I was laying in bed, I was like, oh, I just really want Coda to show up, and then there he was, just laying next to me on the pillow, and like clear as day right there. And all through my metaphysical sense of clairvoyance, I saw him there. I didn't hear anything. I didn't smell him. I didn't taste anything but just clairvoyantly absolutely knew that he was right there next to me. And all I did was say, I wish he would show up right now. And he did. And so you could take this garden with you, even in something like this. You're stirring from bed and you're waking up and you're like, I just want to snuggle my dog before I get out of bed. And okay, there he is, snuggling on a metaphysical way. And just that knowingness is just so beautiful. And so the more I practice connecting with my dogs on the other side, the more I feel when they're around or they just show up. And they're not with me all the time. They're off doing whatever they're doing on the other side. But when I think of them and when I want to connect with them, they are right there, just a thought away. I just have to open up my senses and allow myself to visually see clairvoyantly, clairaudiently, whatever it might be. And the more you work with this, the easier it is to have the instantaneous connections.
And that blind faith with your loved ones, with their personalities, characteristics, all of those. Been doing that for many, many years. I am able to pick up a lot of, when I do mediumship, characteristics, personality traits, dynamics, the way they would say things, how they would say it. And on average, the person that I'm reading for will be like, that's how they used to be. And I'm like, that's how they still are. I'm just mimicking them, right? I don't know them. And they're like, yeah, they died like 60 years ago. I'm like, well, good. So a little bit more validation that they will give us as much of their personality, the characteristics, so that it moves beyond good guesswork to go, man, there are billions of people on this planet. Not everyone has the same personality and characteristics, nor the exact same name. But when we can make these connections with your loved ones as well as our own and get that information, get those personalities and characteristics, it becomes a lot more validating that you're tuning into a specific person and that's the exact personality they had. Oh yeah, they have, is the point. And it becomes more evidential to go, well, yeah, okay, you're connected with a soul, but that is how they were on this planet when they were here in this lifetime. And that is the connection and experience that we had. Because a lot of times your loved ones will give anyone who's listening, in this case the medium, information and some of the oddball, random validations that I don't understand it at all, I just comprehend it. That's why I say I've learned to not try to analyze it. I just receive it. And I'll be like, I don't know, here's what they're showing me or they're telling me or they're making me feel. Because it's not about me to find the placement within that person's life experience for this information. I am just the information. They'll know if it's their people, if it's connected to them in whatever way. And when you can get those characteristics, those personalities, it will give the person that you're reading for more confidence to go, whoa, that's exactly how they were. What else are you getting? And then a lot of times, again, it will be experiences or circumstances. And a number of times they'll give you validations that nobody else knows except for the person you're reading for. And I get that quite a bit. Thankfully, they're like, nobody else was there. That's exactly what I was saying and how I was saying. I'm like, okay, good. Well, they heard you. And so it's really nice that we can get these characteristics. We can make our own connections with our loved ones. And as we're working with ourselves and our loved ones, knowing their personality, picking those things up, you'll be a little bit more able to pick up personalities from other people that you don't know. Hey, they like to smile in this way, or it's kind of a half smile, or whatever the dynamic is. I've just learned to have complete faith and trust that your loved ones will give me more accurate, validating information, because I've learned I trust your loved ones on the other side more than I trust you to know or even remember circumstances and experiences, because it becomes more validating. And there are times where I'll give information, and I always have people record it so they don't have to worry about it. But during the session, they're like, I don't know, I have no clue. And then they have it recorded. I'm like, well, here's the information. Here's what I'm getting. And in their own life, they click point, or they're like, I completely forgot about, or I was talking with a friend and I didn't even know that was the case. I'm like, yeah, but your people did. So again, having the trust and faith to say things, because in the beginning, nobody wants to be wrong. But if you hold yourself up to that, I've always got to be right, you're going to be insecure and you'll be getting it wrong a lot more than right. That's why for me, it's just information, just the facts. And then if it's personalities, they can give me that flavor. But when you can put personalities, characteristics of how the person is and was, and some of the life experience that they went through with the person you're reading for, you're able to start expanding that Rolodex of information for the person you're reading for, because they'll start to make their own connections as they start to receive that information to go, that's exactly right. And then it's a little bit more comfortable for them to go, well, if they're talking to you, meaning me, Joe Schmo, then they're talking to me? I'm like, yes, are we listening? Everyone's a psychic medium, as Mag and I say. It's, do you want to use it, and what level do you want to take it to?
And I hate being wrong. I just got to tell you right now, this is what has gotten in my way a lot of times is, first of all, I have a lot of integrity with the messages I deliver. If I don't feel it, I don't say it. And then sometimes I feel like I'm guessing when I'm doing mediumship. And so I just don't say anything. So here's the deal. We have monthly training sessions that help give you practice with your psychic gifts, your mediumship gifts, all of it. So we definitely recommend you practice if you want to build up your confidence of saying it without filters, and give yourself permission to be wrong, because I hate being wrong. I love being right. And this did get in my way quite a bit. And if I didn't get anything right, or if, I was like 20% accurate, I was like, oh, I'm not good at this. I'm done. I'm done. And I would shut myself down. And then I wouldn't return to it for a while, because I didn't want to go in a direction that I couldn't excel at. Now, what that does for me is two things. One, I take myself too seriously, okay? Two, when it's practice and you're practicing with people that don't judge you and that can just be open and allow you to practice, that is a beautiful experience. One of the reasons we created our monthly training session was to have the ability to practice in a safe environment where there's no judgment. You could be a complete beginner, you could be completely wrong, you could be completely right, and it's all accepted and it's all okay, because we're all there practicing and developing. And so I encourage you to keep going, because that's what I've done. I've kept going. I got thrown into a couple of practice sessions I wasn't intending to actually practice, and I got a lot of accuracy, and I was like, whoa, I didn't get everything right. I didn't yet, but I did start feeling the difference between my thoughts and the other side's thoughts even more clearly than I ever have before. I tend to really be good at, when my loved ones come, I know it's them. They communicate very clearly. Other people's loved ones, I don't trust myself as much, because I don't know their soul print as well as I know my loved one's soul print. So again, I had to keep kind of going to it, practicing. And this is what is actually, I'm now gaining more confidence in my mediumship abilities. And I do not call myself a professional medium, because I'm not going to charge anyone for mediumship unless I feel I'm really, really good at it. So I feel like I need more practice. And it's okay to admit where you are, whether you're scared of being wrong, you're confident of being right, you're not sure yet. I mean, wherever you are in this scale of learning and practicing and developing, if you don't practice, you will never get better. And it's like any muscle that we use. If we're not using that muscle, it will atrophy. And so the same thing with our psychic gifts and our mediumship gifts. So the more you can practice, this is going to be a very enriching thing. Giving yourself permission to be wrong, having the courage to speak and deliver what you feel is from the other side is huge. And once you get over those hurdles, it does become easier to practice and you can refine. And I think the channels become a lot clearer, and the impressions that you receive in your metaphysical senses become a lot more refined. So this doorway to mediumship can be practiced and integrated and really worked with in a very beautiful way.
And again, having the integrity to do this work with love and compassion. And what I mean by that, in addition, besides love and compassion, is I always say that there is a lot of responsibility that goes with what we do. We are dealing with people's souls. There is a very strong and powerful connection with the information and the realization of it. That's why for me, I always say and share the fact that if they give me something, I'll give it. If not, I will not make stuff up. And it's never happened, but I'm making sure it doesn't happen. Because if you're doing your mediumship and you, as the medium, start putting words in their loved one's mouth from the other side that their loved ones didn't say, and you think that you're putting your own spin of flavor on it, and then it's not even what their loved ones say, and the person you're reading for becomes distraught because that isn't even close to what their loved one would be communicating, and then they become distraught and go home and take their own life? Not a frickin' chance. That's why I'm like, here we go. If I get it, I give it. And if it's mediumship and I'm good, your people are great. If it's psychic, you're great. And the ability to know the best that we can those personality characteristics, because the more that you can work with your loved ones and you know their energy and their personality and all that, the more you'll be able to just be open for anyone else to come through with their own unique personality. And again, putting your rules and regs on that big old board so that when loved ones come in, for me, they read all of my qualities and abilities. That way there is no guesswork. I'm comfortable, I'm confident, and efficient. And again, when we can be able to go beyond good guesswork into solid validation, it becomes more open and receptive for people to go, okay, and you know what? That's not scary, and that's a beautiful quality. I'm like, well, great, because they're giving me the information, and all I'm doing is sharing it. But when people can see that a stranger, meaning me, can connect with their loved ones, and it's not negative or fearful or any of that, it's, if anything, it's a great thing. And there are so many times during a session that we'll be laughing and experiences, and it's like, yeah, but isn't that interesting and fascinating on the connection of our loved ones that we are missing physically? Metaphysically, they're right here, and with personalities and with jokes and characteristics and all of those things, to go, I just feel like we're having a conversation. I'm like, because we are. All I'm doing is listening. I've just tuned in to know when I'm thinking my own thought patterns and who is giving me the information. Because for myself, I want even more efficiency with how to receive information. And besides the personality and characteristics type of thing, I'll also have them, the loved ones on the other side, as they come through, put themselves on an energy level of how I receive things. And what I mean by that is, if the person comes through at your same level, energy-wise, it's a husband, wife, brother, sister, good friend, a contemporary. One level above you will be a mom and dad, aunt and uncle, grandma, grandpa on a motherly, fatherly level. Above that is a grandma, grandpa. One level below you is a child and animals. So I'll always make sure you know what level they come in at. Now, in addition, I always do the best I can to let you know who is giving me the information, because I've found for so many years that I'll share, this is the person who's giving me the information, and they'll be like, that's exactly what happened with them. I'm like, okay, well, it wasn't somebody else, it was with them. And it became such a solid, just a matter of fact communication that there's no way you could guess it. And it wasn't connected to a bunch of other people. It was connected to their loved one or the information that was coming through. And when they can feel the sincerity, the genuineness to go, no, you're not making stuff up. You're doing the best you can to make this communication. And you know what? If you can do it, then maybe I can do it. Yes, exactly. We want to get you the empowerment and self-realization of making these connections for yourself.
And that's a great example of setting a regulation. Like, I want you to put yourself at an energy level so I know what relationship you have to the person in front of me. And so that is something that when we talk about rules and regs, that's a great example of how to form a regulation. You know, this is how I like to receive information. Put yourself at an energy level. Some people want to receive names. Some people want to receive dates. Some people, you know, are really good at that because that's part of their rules and regs or what they're developing. So you have to decide for yourself what you're comfortable doing. And, you know, sometimes I've decided sometimes less rules are better until you know what rules you want. Because as I'm practicing, my rules are that if I am unsure of the energy coming through, one of my guides, and they're very specific guides, will bring that person to me so that I know that it's safe for me. And so that's a nice thing that helps me feel comfortable. It's like I have a guide that I work with all the time that brings people to me so that I feel safe connecting with someone else's loved one. And it just gives me a comfort of mind that it's, you know, it's in a very positive, loving, light way. That's on my rules and regulations too. You know, you have to be of a certain high vibration of love to be able to come in and talk to me for any reason, you know, so that is on my billboard. So those are common things that we would maybe put on our rules and regulations, common boundaries that we want to have with our mediumship abilities. So make sure you think about those things and you can change them when you need to. You can put them in place. You can put different rules up when you have them, different ways of connecting. Sometimes I'll put up a rule and reg and realize it's not working for me and I change it. So be fluid with the process too, but take yourself to the garden. Practice your mediumship with your loved ones or anyone else you wish to practice with. And if you want to really work with different types of, you know, training, join our monthly training sessions and really get in. We do psychic 1 month, we go to mediumship 1 month, we go back to psychic 1 month, we go back and forth. So it's really cool because we're constantly developing and exploring. We do run you through brief meditations, integrations with your higher self to help you tune in and find people to practice with if you want to develop that, because that's a huge piece of this work.
For most of my life, I did this work, but I always did it for free. I didn't know how to get people to pay me for something I've been doing for free my whole life. And so there was a little bit of stress going, if I'm going for free and then I'm going to be compensated for something, there better be some direction and connection there, the best that I can. Before I started doing this professionally, I had the person that I was connected to have their friends that I didn't really know anything about in any way. And I set it up in a very comfortable, casual way, going, hey, I'm working with my abilities. I'm doing the best I can. Can you just be open and see where we go? And so it gave me a lot of comfort that I wasn't under the stress that I'm being compensated and I have to be. It's like I'm doing the best I can always. Whether it was complimentary or not, I'm always doing the best that I can. But getting that comfort level that your service can match whatever the energy sharing is, whether it's abundance of money, love, a hug, any of it, it doesn't matter. It's what is the connection of your energy vibration. Because I'm about empowerment. And if we can do the best we can to do what we do, and it works for us, there's a potential that it might work for you in some way too. The versatility, just like Mag is saying, is sometimes you'll use a key to success and then you outgrow it. Perfect. So the versatility to integrate, to grow with your abilities is a huge connection and comfort.
So when you're ready to practice your mediumship, open up that doorway of connection. Allow those loved ones to step through that doorway and connect with you. Sit in your beautiful meditative garden and feel those connections, work with your senses, and most importantly, have fun with your psychic evolution. Are you looking to form a deeper and richer connection to your higher self? Make that dimensional bridge of consciousness a reality in your life. Join us with Infinite Healing from the Stars, that's Vivian Chavette and Peter Benson, and the Psychic Evolution team, gathering together in a beautiful spiritual center in Sedona, Arizona, with these beautiful vortex energies and red rocks. And here we're going to learn quantum ways to communicate to your higher self. Discover your soul's purpose, activate your third eye, clear your channels, and enjoy messages from Jamie Clark and astrology to help activate your higher self in psychic connections. It is going to be out of this world when you're experiencing Beyond Quantum Healing with Vivian Chavette. We look forward to seeing you in Sedona on January 20th through 23rd of 2023. Visit psychicevolution.net to get your tickets. We look forward to seeing you there and having fun with our psychic evolution.